Hello there, Padawans. Welcome back to the Star Wars Sunday show here on Han Talks First. I'm your host, Han, and it is episode 160. That's crazy. That's like 2.5 years of the show. That's insane. And we have a lot to talk about today with a special guest who is joining me. And I hope you're having a great day. Hopefully, we can make it a little bit better. Things we're talking about today include stuff about Knights of the Old Republic, the video game remaster edition that's coming out on pre-order. Rogue Squadron, we're going to talk a little bit more about its delay and the behind-the-scenes stuff that happened. We're also discussing Kathleen Kennedy and her 3-year extension at Lucasfilm, along with, as the title of the video suggests, casting news for Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka series, coming to Disney Plus in a little over a year. So, like I said, we got a great show planned for you today. If you're joining us live, let us know in the chat who's here, and we'll say hello. And you're listening to Han Talks First.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
So yes, episode 160. And like I said, I have a guest here today. Before I bring him in, I just want to thank everybody for 870 subs on the YouTube page. That's incredible. We're almost at the year point for when we started our YouTube channel and doing live video along with audio. So 870 is pretty good to me. And thank you so much, guys, for all of your support and comments and engagement. I can't thank you enough. This is really great. And it's hard. It's hard getting to that 1,000 subscriber mark. It's one of the hardest things I've done as a podcaster. So thanks again. And if you're new to the show, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple, etc., subscribe, rate, review. It helps out so much, and can't thank you enough for that too. I also have one little other announcement, kind of a side announcement that I wanted to share with you guys, and that is my short film that I told you guys about, Dawn, is just now in the festival circuits, and it's making its ways around town in Los Angeles. And we just got accepted into our first festival, bite-sized film festival, and it's finally being shown at a film festival, which is really cool. Now, unfortunately, I cannot share the film with you guys yet. It has to complete its rotation at the film festivals, and then I'm allowed to make it public. But this was something really cool that I wanted to share, and I'm pretty proud of this little dumb short film I made. So at some point, I'll share it with you guys. And if you want to see the picture that I posted, head on over to the YouTube page and you can see a little screenshot from the film. But yeah, so I said we had a guest today, and it looks like he's having internet problems. So we're going to give him just a second before he jumps back in here. So bear with us. But right now it's just me. He looks like he just dropped out of my stream here. So, and he texted me saying he has internet issues, which is a shame because we spent 15 minutes doing a sound check. So let's just start off by going into our first segment of the show, which is Star Wars Replay. Enjoy.
Star Wars Replay!
Star Wars Replay is where we replay major moments and events that happened this week in Star Wars history. And this week, in 1965, Mads Mikkelsen from Rogue One is born. In 1977 of this week, at the Hollywood Bowl, the first public Star Wars concert took place where Zubin Mehta conducted the Los Angeles Philharmonic. In 1983, CBS aired Classic Creatures Return of the Jedi, the first behind-the-scenes documentary on the creatures of Star Wars. In 1989, Alden Ehrenreich, who plays Han Solo in Solo, is born. On a sadder note, in 2010, Irving Kershner passed away this week in history. And finally, in 2020, Rosario Dawson makes her live-action debut as Ahsoka Tano in The Mandalorian. That's it for Star Wars Replay. Tune in next week to find out what major moments and events happened next week in Star Wars history. Great segment today. One thing I wanted to highlight was, of course, Irving Kershner, the director of The Empire Strikes Back, who did a fantastic job. He died on the 27th of November, so that was this week in history. And he just brought such a new take, a very emotional take, to Star Wars. And he just did such a great job, and he's long remembered, never forgotten. And, he just did a great job. If you guys have any thoughts about Irvin that you wanted to share, fun facts or anything, let us know in the comments below. I will say hello to some of the people that have joined us in the chat today. Robin McFly, MJ Youngling, Max, and welcome to the show. And like I said, my guest having internet issues. I just texted him telling me just log back on, see if you can get back in, but I think his internet went out. So if he comes back, we will add him to the show, but it might be a little later today. But thank you all for joining us live. And thank you, MJ, for the comments. You like Max, you really like the logo of the short film. Thank you so much, Max. Glad you like it. And I'm really happy to share. I can't wait to actually share you guys the whole video. Coming soon. Who knows when? I guess we'll wait and find out. So let's talk a little bit about some news that's going on in the Star Wars world. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that's not controversial or a hot take, and that is Knights of the Old Republic. It's getting a Master Edition re-release, and it's currently available on pre-order if anyone is interested, but it comes with a ton of surprises. So this product is filled with tons of things. This is the official press announcement from Limited Games, who is doing the release. It says the first will be a premium edition bundle that includes a standard version of the Switch game, a metal commemorative coin with emblems on both the dark and light side, a metal pin of the Ebon Hawk, a poster, a decorative steelbook, a series of concept art cards, as well as a certificate of authenticity. If those aren't enough to satisfy your love of the Force, there's also going to be a Master Edition that includes everything from the premium edition and more, including 2 replicas of Darth Revan's lightsaber hilt, and also a vibroblade letter opener, a Pazak set, a hardcover strategy guide for the game, lithographs of some concept art, and even a replica of the original game's Xbox case. If you're watching this on the video platform, you can see all of these items, and this is incredible. I mean, the thing that sold me on it was the vibroblade letter opener. I think that is such a cool concept idea, but also a replica of the Darth Revan lightsaber hilt. That's really cool too. But all of this stuff is on pre-order right now, and it's only $174.99. I think that's a pretty good deal, everything considered. That's a lot of stuff. And of course, Knights of the Old Republic is getting a lot of attention recently because they're doing a remake, they're doing a remaster, they have the Switch game coming out, and now also all of this stuff coming to us from Limited Games. Now, I do also want to say this was brought to my attention by Dean of Four-Legged Gamer, the YouTube channel that I have on my channel from time to time. He's also my Mando co-host when we watch the Mandalorian series, and he's really excited about this stuff too. So if you're a Switch player, you have something really cool to look forward to. I mean, look at all this amazing stuff you can have. It truly is epic, as MJ the Youngling put in the chat. Epic. And it just builds our excitement even more for the Knights of the Old Republic remake that's going to happen. I can't wait. Cannot wait. This is super exciting. And you know what? It looks like the guest who I'm bringing on, his internet is back and working. So let's try and entering him into the show. Everybody help me welcome Zach Valadon. What's up, buddy? You're back.
Hey, dude. Sorry about that. You buy fiber optic network from space in the future, from a galaxy far, far away, and it fails you instantaneously.
It's hard to do intergalactic podcasting. You're right.
Yeah.
But I was nervous. I thought you weren't going to come back, but you are back.
No, I made it. That's what I get for letting a pretty salesperson sell me internet.
See, I mean, that would happen to all of us. Don't feel bad. But now that you're here, I mean, you've been on the show before, but I'll give you a second to let everyone know who you are and what Star Wars means to you, and just say hello.
Yeah, totally. Hey, everyone. My name is Zach Valadon. I'm originally from the Los Angeles area. And today I live in Oklahoma City. I host a podcast. I work in the publishing industry. I do a lot of things. And I'm excited to be here with Han. I was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first guest ever on the podcast.
You were the first guest ever.
Yeah, done in person in Los Angeles in like 2018, 2017.
Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah, that's wild. Congrats on making it this far and for the followership you've accrued. It's well deserved.
And actually, the episode that we did together, the first guest appearance I had, Zach was me. We did an episode called The Top 10 Greatest Moments in Star Wars or something like that, where we ranked our favorite moments in all the films. And to this day, it's still one of the most popular episodes on the show. So thank you for being such a good co-host as well.
I love that. Thanks people for going back to the beginning and listening to Han do his thing.
And if anyone wants to hear it, it's episode 2. So just go back in time on the audio platforms and you can check it out there. And Zach was also on our 100th episode, which was done earlier this year. So yeah, we got a great rapport with each other. He's a great friend. And there was something else I wanted to share about Zach, and that is, he mentioned he's a podcaster, musician, he's in the publishing world, but he's also a coffee connoisseur. So check this out. You guys know I love coffee. While he's not a sponsor of the show yet, I am a good friend and I want to promote this product because it's great. So him and another buddy of ours, Omar, who we'll have on the show sometime soon, they have their own company, Moon Life Coffee. If you're watching the video, I'm holding up one of their bags here. This is the Harmony Blend, which I got, and it's really good. You guys know I talk about on every show, I always have a cup of coffee with me, and it's my what is it called? Vice. It's my my fiend. I always have to have coffee. So I was thrilled that they started a company, but I'll let you tell people more about Moon Life.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm glad to feel your addiction. That's something that I live for. Coffee is also something that I live for. Yeah. Moon Life is something that Omar and I conceptualized. We're both big coffee fans. We're both, really into, working together. We've been best friends since high school. And Omar, like me, is a musician, and he plays the bass for a super sweet group in Los Angeles called Aisa, among a number of other things. And so we decided we wanted to create a sustainable product from, the acquisition of what's up, MJ the Youngling. We wanted to create a sustainable product from, sourcing the beans from wherever that might be. So that means a good relationship with farmers and distributors, and, the knowledge that it's being ethically sourced and fair to farmers. What's up, Max S 4646? That's a great number. The other half is also the sustainability of our product, meaning, we have compostable bags, and, we're trying to be sustainable in delivery and everything. The other thing we do is we plant a tree for every bag of Moon Life coffee purchased. So
I love that.
Yeah. So every step of the way, we want to be giving, and it's been a labor of love, a lot of fun. And as a coffee lover myself, it's been great to explore the business of coffee. It's different. Ultimately, what I want is to have a brick and mortar place for people to come hang out, develop community, and just a safe kind of late night haunt for kids and adults alike.
I love that. And at some point, guys, Moon Life Coffee will be a sponsor of the show, and I will give you links and all this kind of good stuff. But until then, you can check out Zach on his social media, and you can ask him about it or find out where you can purchase it and stuff like that too. But yeah, great stuff. And I see some people are excited to see you today, such as MJ and Max and Robin and all this kind of stuff. So looks like we're going to have a great show today. Your internet went out. I already talked about Star Wars Replay and Knights of the Old Republic. But did you have anything about either of those two segments that you wanted to share?
Knights of the Older, for the replays, I saw it earlier. Cool stuff. I'm a big fan of Mads Mikkelsen, so happy birthday to him. Outside of Rogue One, I really love him in Hannibal. That character is just haunting and incredible.
I still need to see that.
Oh, It's such a worthy watch on Netflix. It's you know, I rarely,
on
if
Netflix?
ever, it's on Netflix. I rarely, if ever, binge things anymore. But that was one that I was gripped to, and Mads Mikkelsen is perfect in that. And then after that, I watched Casino Royale, and I just could not see him as any other character but Hannibal. He's perfect. He's Galen, yes, in Rogue One.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Galen Erso.
yeah, Galen Erso, and that's it's interesting to contrast that, you know, very empathic character with who he plays in Hannibal. Very, very interesting. He's got a great range, and also, I don't know if people know this, but the younger brother of Lars Mikkelsen, who is obviously Grand Admiral Thrawn. So
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'll address that today.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about
big
Ahsoka
time
and casting today.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, I just want to put it up again. All this stuff you can get with the new Knights of the Old Republic Master Edition is incredible. And,
yeah, $175. That seems
not
like a
bad.
steal. That seems like a steal for all that. I didn't even know what half of that shit is, but it's cool.
So yeah, Switch players have something really cool to look forward to. The next bit of news, I also see some more people are joining us in the chat. Hello. If you're watching live, put your name in there. Say hello so we can address you. Amidala just joined us. It's great to see you. I don't think we've seen you on a live show before, so thanks for watching the show. Good to have you. And if you guys have any questions or thoughts or want to give your opinion, we'll try and address everybody today. But moving on to the next bit of news, we talked about it a little bit last week. I actually made a whole standalone video just about it and posted it on the podcast. But it's about Rogue Squadron. It's about the delay, how it's been delayed indefinitely. Originally supposed to have a 2023 release. And then recently they announced scheduling conflicts, heavy on quotations there. And it has been put on an indefinite hold. And I just kind of wanted to get Zach's take on this to see, because I know you were excited for this, and kind of hear, you know, what you think is going on really behind the scenes. And if anyone wants to check out my thoughts on this, where I go into deep dive on what's going on, you can go to the YouTube channel or listen to last week's episode on the cancellation of Rogue Squadron. And I had a lot of people giving me feedback on that episode, just saying thank you for expressing my thoughts in like a respectful way. And it was so good to hear. I only point that out because I was really nervous about doing that episode because I didn't want to seem too aggressive or frustrated. But thank you, you know, people like Sith Care Bear and other people who have messaged me saying thank you for that video. So Zach, you know, I don't think we've talked about it, but I'm pretty sure you were excited for Rogue Squadron. And what did you think when you heard this news?
I'm excited for any, you know, cinematic piece that comes in Star Wars, whether it's in the Skywalker saga or not. And, you know, my take on, you know, what's going on with the Disney leadership, and I hope I can be respectful too. But what's troubling to me about, you know, what I saw in the sequel trilogy, etc., which by the way, I love, but I think, you know, when I think back on, and I'll try and tie this all in together, but when I think back on the Rise of Skywalker, for example, I think that it's, you know, it's this chaotic, lots of different concepts and pieces of lore being introduced for the purpose of kind of expanding on it in the Star Wars universe that Disney owns, so, you know, that they can create other shows to expound on things like Wayfinders, so that they can you know, build more of a world on sub characters, you know, the Lando arc, you know, move forward with that and not really expand on things in the movie. And what that does is it pulls away from the narrative. And it's what I like about The Last Jedi so much, for example, because I think that Rian Johnson was really into telling the story, and just, you know, it was a love letter to Star Wars, and a very adventurous exploration of what Star Wars can be. And it wasn't so much about, you know, creating other, you know, sort of story plots that they could drive with a show or with a comic or with a novel, something like that. And so all of that to say, you know, I think that this Disney leadership is not really valuing people that want to tell a good story. You know, they don't
agree.
value the Colin Trevorrows. They don't value the Rian Johnsons. It's probably why he got pulled off of The Rise of Skywalker, because I'm imagining the way that, or rather Trevorrow, you know, they wanted to tell a super cool story and not instigate a series of other plots that they could go down with, you know, more merchandise and more,
Right.
you know, which it's always great to have more Star Wars, but as much as I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker for how beautiful it was, and you know, it was a cool narrative, but it was very plain. You know, it was very cut and dry, and I think it lacked what the prequels had in terms of just telling a story. And that's always been the great thing about Star Wars, is that, you know, you everybody says, you know, every single character that's in the background has a name and a, you know, a well fleshed out narrative associated with their character, and you can take that and run with it. You know, you don't have to, you know, make the plot all about giving you you know, burying the lead on what they're going to expand on in a comic book or something like that. And so I think that, to me, that's my assessment. You know, they're not really, you know, with regard to Rogue Squadron, they don't want to tell, you know, just a great story in totality.
I think so too. And inside the article that this was broken from, which is by a news outlet called Puck, the author, I think it's Michael Baloney. I think he used to be the editor for The Hollywood Reporter, so he's a credible source. But inside that article, he elaborated on, which I didn't talk about last week, but it said something having to do with, you know, the press announcement is scheduling conflicts, but in reality, it's actually creative differences between both Patty Jenkins, the writer of the film, and the executives at Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and also Michelle Rejwan, who I speculated was one of the reasons why I had the pushback last week. And a lot of people still don't know who Michelle Rejwan is. She's worked on every Star Wars project under Disney. She is the successor to Kathleen Kennedy, I think. I think Kathleen's going to give her the president of Lucasfilm when it's all said and done. But she's in charge of live action projects at Lucasfilm. And so basically they went on to elaborate in this article that what the issue was with Patty Jenkins is that Lucasfilm has tons of micromanagement and a plot point by plot point committee process. And Patty Jenkins actually said herself, sorry for the language, everybody, she isn't willing to dick around. And, you know, this could be good, this could be bad, but to me, it seems like a corporate way of making movies, which Disney has been known to do in the past. But, you know, we've also had projects that creators get to kind of have free reign. Rian Johnson, for example, kind of got to make the story he wanted to. J.J. Abrams in The Force Awakens kind of and Rise, I guess, got to make the story they wanted to. And I've talked about several times how I think there needs to be a drastic change in leadership at Lucasfilm. And some of the things I mentioned was, you know, what you need in a leadership position, such as a studio head, is innovation, integrity for your artists and creators, and also strategy. And I don't see any of those being represented at this time. And we'll talk about Kathleen Kennedy in a second. But, you know, for you, Zach, when you hear a plot point by committee and micromanagement at Lucasfilm, is this kind of what you expect, like kind of thought was happening, or do you have other theories too?
Yeah, I mean, it's a profit world now. It always has been. That's capitalism. Right. That's showbiz, baby. But I think that's the unfortunate thing about, you know, who's
it ain't show friends, it's show business.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about whose hands Star Wars is in right now. You know, when you think about a group of people just sort of looking at plot point by plot point, they're, like I said earlier, I think it's a matter of, you know, how can we make this into something else that we can market and then thereby profit under? You know, what's going to drive up the Disney Plus subscriptions because we can blow people's minds.
Right.
You know, what like you know, I think that really is like Lando's involvement in the Rise of Skywalker didn't really serve any other purpose other than like that brief moment at the end, you know, on the celebration where let's find out. It's like, okay, that's a clear indication that you can expect more content coming in the future that involves this character, and it's his involvement served virtually no other purpose. I mean, you know, obviously he was a huge part of getting the Navy to yeah, you know, at the end sequence with Palpatine, but and that's like really all we can say for it, though. Like he's just kind of thrust into the plot there, and they've opened up the window to, you know, market and bring out more product.
Yeah, I see a bunch of people kind of commenting on this situation, which I want to address a few here. MJ says, aren't they replacing Rogue Squadron with an Old Republic movie series, though? So that was the rumor. That wasn't inside this news article where all this info is coming from, but the whole rumor was Rogue Squadron is being pushed a year, but they're saving that theatrical date for another Star Wars film coming in 2023. I am not sure if this is accurate or not. I mean, it could very well be, but we don't know of any other movies that are being made for a theatrical release at this time. But it was speculated that it was going to be an Old Republic film. Now, there has been tons of development on an Old Republic movie and trilogy. We've talked about it before. It even has a very good writer attached, the first female writer in Star Wars, actually. But there hasn't been any news since 2019. So I'm not sure if that's very accurate or not. And I also see some people commenting about Rian Johnson, who was actually mentioned in this article that we were mostly talking about. Max says, there's a rumor that Patty Jenkins had creative differences with Lucasfilm, which is very likely. And I think the same rumor says that Rian Johnson's trilogy is canceled.
Totally.
So that was in this article as well, that there's been other canceled projects, and the author went on to notate Rian Johnson was one of them. Now, again, this could be fake or not accurate. I don't think at this time it is happening, but I really glad you brought this up, Max. So Max is actually a really big Last Jedi fan, and so is Zach. And I kind of wanted to get your perspective on the Rian Johnson trilogy, which was announced in 2018 or 2017. And since then, there hasn't been any movement to the public anyway. I personally don't think it's going to happen, not because I don't want to see that, but because I feel like Rian Johnson wouldn't want to come back into that situation at this time and, you know, go through the same hatred and vitriol that he went through when it was first announced. So, Zach, being a Last Jedi fan, a Rian Johnson fan, what are your thoughts on, you know, his potential series?
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. There's a hard line in the sand drawn after the release of Rian Johnson's film. And, you know, I only had to watch that like documentary that came on the bonus features of The Last Jedi's. I think I got it on the Steelbook for this one, or it was the Target release or something. And
it was a great documentary.
Oh, it was so, and I was like,
Jedi?
I was like, this guy gets it. Like this is a Star Wars fan who also happens to be an awesome director, you know, an awesome storyteller, and told an awesome story. And a lot of people, I think, didn't like that, you know, for the remaining Resistance, it was a box movie, which I thought was awesome.
What do you mean by box movie?
Like, you know, a lot of it just took place in the ship while they're fleeing.
Oh,
you know, the whole sequence with Holdo and Poe and their differences. I mean, it was an immense amount of character growth for Poe, which I feel like they threw out the window for The Rise of Skywalker for comedic relief. Rian Johnson set up like, you know, a true like hero's journey for all of the main characters in this part of the saga. And then they just kind of like made it silly. They like made Rise of Skywalker into a Ragnarok, in my opinion.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remembered from hearing you talk about it. Me and Zach did another episode together called The Rise of Skywalker 1 year later, a retrospect. You guys can check that out too. And Zach, I've actually had some people ask me if we can both do that again, but for The Last Jedi. So like maybe like a 4-year later's how The Last Jedi holds up today.
I'm super game. I need to watch that movie again, so I would love to.
Perfect. Yeah. And, I've had a lot of requests for those. I guess you could call it a rewatch review. So yeah, guys, maybe me and Zach will do that for The Last Jedi again at some point, because thank you for the people who have asked to see that. I appreciate that.
Heck yeah.
MJ says, do you kiss your mom with that mouth? I guess you're talking about the quote that I read. So not with that mouth. No, I don't. I want George Lucas back. I think everyone would love to see George Lucas do something again, like maybe even like an episode of television. But I think he's done, man. I think he's retired. He's out on a boat. He's
a
out
$4
in
billion
Hawaii.
boat.
A $4 billion. Could you imagine? That'd be a giant. That's a cruise ship.
That's a big boat.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the next. That's exactly what it looks like. So we're gonna move on to the next bit of news, which is actually related to this Rogue Squadron thing, and that is about Kathleen Kennedy. So she has been renewed. Her contract is getting a 3-year extension. 3 more years of Kathleen Kennedy as the president of Lucasfilm. And it was, said it was rumored, but it actually was confirmed by Frank Marshall, her husband, via Twitter. Even though Disney and Lucasfilm hasn't commented on this, it was confirmed by Frank. And it was also confirmed by Bob Chapek, the president of Disney, who said in an investors call a couple months ago that he expects to work with Kathleen Kennedy as the president of Lucasfilm for many years to come. So it could even potentially be more than 3 years of her leadership reign. Just to comment on this really quickly, again, I did a whole video on why I think the leadership at Lucasfilm needs a drastic change. It is linked in the description of this video. Please go check it out. I put a lot of work and thought into it, and I articulated my thoughts in a well-mannered way. But check that out. And just to kind of replay what I'm saying for Kathleen Kennedy extending her contract, I really don't think this is a good move. Now, it makes sense from a executive position at Disney to renew her contract because she brings in crap loads of money. Every Skywalker film has made over $1 billion. Solo aside, also Rogue One made over $1 billion. Mandalorians, those 2 seasons of the series have had award acclaim out the wizzo, and everything that is released tends to trend and or make a lot of money. So I see why her contract is extended. But again, to point out, I don't think it's a good idea because mainly strategy and innovation and integrity for the creators. There's been time and time again where she has had falling out with the creators because she can't get on the same page as them. And part of the problem with that, it's fine to have those issues, but part of the problem is once she signs on a director or a writer, it's announced. It's announced without, I think, any dialogue of what the story could be. And it's announced to the public. We get excited. Months later, we find out they couldn't agree on the story direction they wanted to go, and there's a falling out. So it wouldn't be a problem if we didn't hear time and time again, people that were announced are now getting delayed or, they're leaving Lucasfilm. And it's gone so far as to even directors who haven't even worked in Lucasfilm yet say they don't want to work at Lucasfilm because of this problem. Most specifically, Christopher McQuarrie, who's directed the last couple Mission Impossible movies. He directed Edge of Tomorrow, or he wrote Edge of Tomorrow. I really kind of had hopes he would make a Star Wars film one day, but it's not happening. So, Zach, what are your thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy getting 3 more years and anything about this?
Yeah. Well, you make a fair point. I think her, she does bring in the dough, and so it's obviously a strategic corporate move, which I think Star Wars is unfortunately corporate now, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. The thing is, if they got back to just telling stories, and she kind of got out of the way of that, I see her as a business person, not a creative person. To me, a good, I know that he's probably overbooked with keeping the lore, but Pablo Hidalgo would be a fascinating choice for for the leadership. I think he has better purview, would be able to sign off on decisions, and is connected with the fans and understands what makes Star Wars great.
And he is one of the authors / head of the story group, correct?
He is the keeper of the story. Like everything passes through him, and he checks it for like basically authenticity to the rest of the story. He keeps the narrative in line, and basically.
What's interesting about Pablo is Rian Johnson said that he worked with Pablo a lot while writing the story of The Last Jedi. But then come to Rise of Skywalker, and Pablo said he never worked with J.J. Abrams. So it's interesting how is that like a J.J. Abrams thing? Like he doesn't want anyone else involved? Because I guess when Michael Bologna was talking about the plot point by committee, that would essentially be in regards to the story group in some ways, which in that case makes sense because they just want consistency. They want things to add up, take place in the right timeline.
Right.
But what do you think the situation was with Rise of Skywalker that they didn't consult story group?
They trusted JJ to make a consumable film, and I think that they'll continue to to tap. JJ's got the blockbuster and the saleability. Writing Lost, or executive producing Lost, or whatever his role was there, and for God's sake, the man has, he's made Star Trek films and Star Wars. Like, he's got the, I don't know if it's an egoic energy, but he's got the resume that says, I don't need, somebody coming in and telling me how to do this thing. And I don't necessarily want to speculate about why or why not, but I would venture out and say it's probably a JJ thing to not work with the great Pablo Hidalgo. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but he's just incredible. Like some of the stuff that he kind of trudges up and brings out and shows people with connection to some of the the original,
like the tie-ins and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like some concept art that only he has. Cool stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't followed him, but I'm sure he does share a bunch of stuff like that. And just to highlight a couple comments in the chat here, Max46 says, to be honest, I'm very happy that Kathleen Kennedy will be staying at Lucasfilm as president, but she shouldn't fire so many directors. So I'm glad you're happy that she's getting an extension. And to kind of not defend what I would say, but kind of play devil advocate to Kathleen Kennedy. I think the main issue for her is she's trying to juggle the position of the president of Lucasfilm, a studio head, while trying to act as the sole producer on a project. And at times, if you're a producer on, say, it's Rogue Squadron, and you're working with the director, you're working with the writer, you're coming up with a story, and then you approve it, but then you put your studio executive hat on, and you're like, ooh, well, actually, we can't market this. So I feel like maybe there's some kind of conflicting roles there happening with her, where she presents it to her bosses, and they're like, you can't do that. And then she has to turn around and say, we can't do this as a producer. Yeah. And then also MJ says they should stop making movies to make money. They should just make movies to make movies, and they'll get the bread.
Yeah.
And he also said, honestly, I just want good movies and shows. I think that's what we all want in the end.
How can they not see that, Star Wars fans and non-Star Wars fans alike eat up stuff made by Filoni, for example.
Yeah.
And it's a labor of love for him. Like he loves his characters. Ahsoka is massively popular, just massively popular. It was a huge thing getting introduced into The Mandalorian that Ahsoka is alive and there. Right. And they even tastefully opened up, Ahsoka looking for Ezra and Thrawn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess we can kind of transition into that with our last bit of news, which then we'll kind of speculate on the Ahsoka series itself. But this was just announced 2 days ago by Deadline. So it's pretty legit. And it is about the casting of Sabine Wren in live action form. She's going to be played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo. Now, I myself have not seen anything that Natasha has done before. But when I saw this news and heard about it, I was immediately very happy that they got an Asian actress, because Sabine is Asian in the show, and just excited to hear Sabine is coming in general. Got me really hyped about it too.
Yeah.
So she Natasha has been in things like Netflix's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's been in The Society. She's been in a movie called Crazy About You, and tons of other stuff. She is a Netflix actor at this time. She has a contract with them. So it's good to see she's kind of branching out and going into bigger roles. And to see her in live action as Sabine Wren is something I'm super excited about. And I saw this fan art on Reddit that I wanted to share of her in the Sabine armor, which I thought was really well done. This is by an artist named Morai Studio. Great artwork there. Zach, what do you think about this news about Sabine being cast?
Hey, it's awesome that Sabine's going to be in the show. I really like the character of Sabine.
I think your mic is muted.
Uh-oh. Can you not hear me?
Or maybe it's on my end.
How are we doing?
Hold on one second, guys.
All right.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
My Siri activated.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
All right, so go. What were you saying?
So I love the character of Sabine, and I'm glad to hear that she's going to be in, the Ahsoka show. To me, it's going to be like this ass-kicking duo, and I love Sabine as an artist. I think that's something that Star Wars was really missing until she got there. I mean, even being dubbed the artist by the stormtroopers. Just an awesome character, and I think it's going to be cool to see. At one point she had the Darksaber, so how could it be sort of tied back into the Mandalorian now that the Darksaber is introduced there? And
right,
yeah, what are the implications, knowing that this is on the same timeline, 5 years after Return of the Jedi, knowing it's there, how are Sabine and Mando going to interact with each other? What's it going to mean? Is there going to be a power struggle? It's going to be cool.
Yeah, all that stuff and more is so exciting. And I saw, I think it was Max in the chat said, wasn't shocked to hear that Sabine is coming into the world. Yeah, I think we all kind of expected it because of how all the recent announcements we've seen in the past. So we'll transition into that and talk about some of the other castings we know about and kind of speculate on the Ahsoka series in general. So for me, Ahsoka, which was announced 1 year ago exactly, is really starting to feel like Rebels 2.0, which for those of you that have watched this show for any period of time, you know that Rebels is one of my favorite Star Wars projects that has come out. And it's my favorite animated series of Star Wars so far. And I'm so excited to hear that we're getting all of these castings coming into play and how it's going to kind of pick up where Rebels left off at season 4. But to kind of recap on the castings we know about. So we obviously know that Ezra is going to be played by Mina Massoud, who was Aladdin for Disney, the live action. And then also going back to the Mikkelsen family we talked about earlier, Thrawn is going to be played by Mads Mikkelsen's brother, Lars Mikkelsen, who, if I'm not mistaken, did the actual voice of Thrawn.
He does.
So,
he does in the Rebel series.
There we go. So that's really exciting to hear too. And of course, last 2 weeks ago, it was confirmed by Deadline that Hayden Christensen is coming back in the Ahsoka series as Darth Vader. This one just takes the cake for me. I cannot wait for this. But all of these castings bring up a bunch of questions. What will the show be about? How will Vader tie in? Things like that. So for you, Zach, for Ahsoka, how excited are you for the show? And what do you think we're going to get from the show? What do you think it's going to be about?
I'm pretty stoked. So my biggest speculation is that we're going to see the end of Ahsoka. Clearly she's
Oh, like her death?
Yeah, that's it's a fear of mine because I love her character.
I didn't even consider that. That's actually a very smart guess, actually.
Yeah,
That's
because
sad.
I could see another final showdown between her and Darth Vader that doesn't go well for her. I mean, it would be awesome to see that, and I'm curious about what the implications are going to be also then on the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah.
Actually, well, I mean, obviously two very different points in time, but I would like to see a reintegration of the world between worlds. I mean, that was a huge part of her making it out of the last fight that she had with Darth Vader and Rebels.
I think a lot of fans want to see World Between Worlds too.
Yeah, and
remember when
and Sabine being in it too is a huge thing because it's her talking about the properties of paintings and like the mysticism of paintings that gets Ezra to even access the world between worlds.
Yeah. Speaking of Sabine, I forgot to mention this, everybody. So a while ago, I had a guest on my show who was actually the first ever live action Sabine Wren, the Disney character at the parks. And she was the official Lucasfilm prototype for the character that would eventually be integrated into the TV show. Her name is Yessie Riviera. And I actually have an episode all with her. I interviewed her about Star Wars Rebels, about Sabine. We talked about her experience with Lucasfilm and about how she's met Dave Filoni and stuff like that. So if you're interested, head on over to on the YouTube page. You'll see an interviews tab in the playlists, and she's the first one there. You can hear our thoughts there, and of course, we'll have her back at some point. Yessie's a great friend of both mine and Zach. Tried to get her on today.
Yessie.
I know. Tried to get her on today, but she was busy. Of course, she's a busy lady.
Is she in New York City these days? Is that?
She's in New York now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's rad.
She's like a gypsy. She's moving all over the place.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully we can convince her to come on a show together, all of us again.
That would be cool.
But yeah, you mentioned something interesting about Sabine, being one of the wielders of the Darksaber. And I kind of wanted to address that too, because Dave Filoni actually gave us a hint that we could see that come into the live action show as well. Dave Filoni, of course, the creator of Star Wars Rebels, of characters like Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka, all that kind of stuff. He actually said, and this is from Deadline. He was interviewed by Deadline a couple years ago, a little over a year ago. And when he was asked about Sabine potentially finishing her story with the Darksaber, this is what he said. It's definitely something I left hanging at the end. And part of that reason is it's always nice in my mind when we have another story to tell. Now, that was in regards to her story being completed. And he has an idea in mind of where he wants to take it. So we could maybe see a follow-up with her and the Darksaber, and then we can tie in
Bo-Katan and Mando.
Yeah, how sick would that be?
It would. So I mean, and I know, obviously Sabine's motivation for wielding the Darksaber is a little bit disconnected at this point because of getting involved with the rebels, and the Maul cycle is over, and she was sort of this empirically driven Mando, so to speak. Yeah. And I think it would be cool if they introduced like a new motivation for her or something like that.
Like what?
I don't know what it could be. Everything, it's really disjointed. And I think her primary thing is finding Ezra, given that she's basically become a part of the Ghost family. So somebody mentioning the Ghost crew in the comments, it was
Amidala,
yeah, Amidala mentioned it, and I thought it was really, because there was a Ghost cameo in, I believe, The Force Awakens, so we know the ship is still intact up to that point.
Oh, it was in the fleet shot in Rise of Skywalker.
It was in Rise of Skywalker, so something's going on there, and right. Who's piloting it? I thought Ghost also appeared in The Force Awakens. I might be mistaken.
Oh, did it? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on like a landing dock somewhere that they went.
Probably.
I'll have to look it up, but yeah. So it appears in that case, if I'm right, it appears multiple times across the sequel trilogy as well.
Oh, I think you're right. I remember someone posting that on Twitter, the screenshot of the ghost
Mhm.
ship in the background. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
So who's piloting that, and to what extent is that crew going to be involved in the Ahsoka show with Sabine being there?
Yeah, and to go off that, because we have Thrawn coming in too on other things we could possibly see in the show. I was recently at Universal City Walk in Hollywood, and me and my girlfriend went into one of the nerd shops there. I can't remember what it's called, and we stumbled across the Star Wars section, and they just re-released this brand new um, figure of Thrawn from the Heir to the Empire book, that version. And in the box set, it also had a small figurine of the Salamari, which is one of those creatures Thrawn would wear around his neck in the book. And it's the only ability, or the only creature to have this ability to kind of cancel out people's force, or ability to use connect with the force for some amount of time so they can attack them better. I think it was in Heir to the Empire. It could have been in the follow-up, but I was just want to speculate. Maybe we could see that creature come into Star Wars too. That would like blow people's minds, and it's such a cool lore add-in for that character Thrawn. And because you mentioned Sabine is probably looking for Ezra, Ahsoka is clearly looking for Thrawn. So them maybe getting together to both hunt for them is what we'll see as well. And but what a purpose to find Ezra would be just to, I guess, save him from his departure in season 4 and just to make sure he's doing okay. But what do you think could be another reason for Ahsoka to heavily want to find Thrawn again, as she said in The Mandalorian? I mean, obviously he's still working and has these small factions of bad guys like we saw.
I mean, obviously the First Order rises in the wake of Return of the Jedi, and with Thrawn being basically the strategic and tactical, brilliant answer to Spock, from
Right.
Star Wars. What is he going to be trying to do? And in what ways maybe is he, trying to corrupt Ezra or whatever it could be. I mean, Ezra kind of has the dominant power hand there at the end of Rebels, but it is curious. I think I haven't speculated too much about what Thrawn could be trying to do, but my best guess is that he's probably trying to create something a la the First Resistance, or maybe he has an actual hand in the rise of the First Resistance, the First Order, and and perhaps he's a huge part of that. And we know the Empire is like somehow still intact at the end of Return of the Jedi. You've got Grand Moff Gideon, you've got all these Empire base posted up. Clearly like stormtroopers are still being paid to do work.
Right.
And it's really, it's interesting. So he's definitely got sympathizers, or he's definitely got people active and trying to, sort of continue their hold on the galaxy.
Yeah. Sith Care Bear, welcome to the show. Glad you could make it. He brings up again that, that Ezra was with Thrawn when they both went into the unknown regions at the end of Rebels. And so something I want to propose is maybe what if Thrawn has turned Ezra to the quote dark side and made him an ally? And because if you look back at, I think it was season 2 of Rebels, when Admiral Kallus or Agent Kallus and Zeb are caught in a cave together on some planet, they ended up forming a bond, and Zeb was able to convince Agent Kallus to leave the Empire and kind of join them. It might have been season 3. So maybe we could get the same thing but reversed.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you think that's possible too?
I'd like the thing it kind of brings up in my head is like the Hunger Games when the Capitol brainwashes PETA against Katniss.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you're
okay.
familiar with that series, like they use like the tracker jackers, and like, Thrawn's is brilliant. What could he do to Ezra that is like almost like a brainwashing? Doesn't even
Right.
really, because Ezra's really a pure and good character, and
Yeah, I think that'd be a
he's
good
obviously
twist.
been tempted by Maul, and
Right.
he definitely probably has a weakness, just as any other Force wielder does for the dark side. Not
That's
that
true. He has
Thrawn
a
is
history, yeah.
yeah, so he's got the history, but Thrawn is also like really pragmatic, could sway him that way, or do something to him. I don't know. Maybe there's like some kind of chiss like brainwashing ability or something that he's got.
Maybe. I mean, the guy knows how to convince people to do stuff, or he just talks so well.
That's for sure. So yeah, it would be really interesting to see like some kind of like struggle with Ahsoka fighting against, like an older, more developed Ezra that is a formidable opponent to her, that is like
Yeah.
brainwashed against her and against Sabine.
Oh, that'd be so great. The other thing I wanted to kind of bring up too was talking a little bit about more like where in the universe this could take place. You mentioned, of course, timeline wise, it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi in the
Mhm.
Mandalorian era, the show era. Obviously, they were shot into the unknown regions at the end of Rebels, so we could be going there. But there was something else that I wanted to point out that was actually implied by Dave Filoni himself of where we could actually be going in this show, and one of it includes a certain planet. So Dave Filoni was asked, or he at the Rebels reunion celebration thing a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, he was actually asked about the show and what could actually happen, and he said to this crowd, he made a little sketch drawing, which I'll show on screen in a second. He said, "I tried to think of something to sketch for you all today, but I couldn't come up with something from the past. So I drew up a possible future instead." And he, of course, posted this on social media about a year ago. And it's a picture of Sabine and Ahsoka on a snow planet. And
Mm.
one of the possibilities I want to share of where they could actually be going in the Ahsoka series is Casilla, which is in the unknown regions, and it's actually the home planet of Thrawn. This
Mhm.
would make so much sense. And the fact that Dave Filoni has been thinking about this show for so long also makes me so, uh, positive about that. It's going to be a good show. I have a lot of faith in it. But Zach, have you seen this photo before?
I have not, actually. This is the first time I'm seeing this. So that's really interesting. The Thrawn's home planet, and like from what little I know, there's like a lot of force sensitivity there among like the young girls,
Mhm.
and so like it could be an interesting place for Ahsoka and Sabine to go.
I do
Um,
too. And of course, it could also tie in with the Salamari. I think I really think that's going to
right.
be in the show too.
Yeah, that could be. It's like it's kind of non sequitur, but like the way I understand is the Chiss girls, like the young girls, like are force sensitive, and they're used as something called Skywalkers,
Right.
as as like they travel for whatever reason,
Oh,
they're
that is right.
navigating,
Yeah,
and they
that's
they
right.
lose their force sensitivity upon adolescence. Like around 13 or 14 years old, they just like lose the ability that they had, and so they basically lose their their practicality for the Chiss people.
I think what we're just overall talking about is there's so much good lore behind all this stuff, and it's
Hmm.
so exciting that we're gonna see it in live action. I mean, we might not, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that places we can go with this show, and just to kind of address some people in the chat here, Sith Care Bear says maybe Thrawn is starting the First Order, and Ezra has been manipulated into helping bring back Palpatine. Maybe he's using Ezra's body for the cloning.
Yeah, to make like a Snoke, basically.
They
That
do love their cloning in
Well,
Star Wars.
they really do need to flesh that out soon, and I think it would be really
Yeah,
good to understand how the acolytes sort of like develop the ability, and where I mean, it obviously had already been done because we know, based on the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, that Palpatine basically threw his consciousness to a clone as he, like, right before he died in
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. So the clones are made and maybe not perfected yet. And that's why he has like this, beat to shit bad clone body that Kylo Ren first encounters in The Rise of Skywalker. So this has already been set into motion by Return of the Jedi. But how was it done? And
Right.
and to that end, it still could be that Ezra and Thrawn are involved to that to some degree.
I think so. I mean, it was hinted at in Mandalorian too, that we'd possibly get more answers to those questions about the cloning and stuff. And to also tie it in with the Mandalorian, Max brought up an interesting point. He says, I'm pretty sure that Moff Gideon is working for Thrawn. That's a very cool idea. And it looks like a couple people agree with Max as well. I could see that being a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Moff Gideon was absolutely shitting his pants when Luke Skywalker showed up. So maybe it could tie in with that too. And we could see more of that. Amidala shares her thoughts and says, I think Thrawn could experiment with him with Salamari or something, and the Empire wanted to experiment with Grogu too. So a couple little, I guess, comparisons there, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, if they wanted to clone, like a Force user, like they clearly wanted to do with Grogu, Ezra would have been prime for that as well.
Yeah.
So to me, like the fact that they have, like, that there's already some cloning going on with the acolytes. I don't know why I feel like a dummy, but I'm totally blanking on the planet in Rise of Skywalker.
Exegol?
Exegol. Yeah, Exegol. So, like, there's something going on Exegol that to me seems disjointed from Thrawn and everybody. But it would be nice to sort of get some clarity on who's doing all this cloning and how it's happening, like how the Snoke bodies are being made and to what extent this is involved.
By the way, I cannot talk about this on the air, but if you guys remember, like a little over a year ago, J.D. Dillard, director, writer, was in talks of developing a movie for Star Wars that was centered around Exegol, and it was going to be a kind of horror Star Wars film. There hasn't been any like word to the public about like its movement, its progress so far. Through my work, I actually found out some stuff about his Star Wars project. I cannot talk about it on the air, but I can just hint to you guys that he's still working on it. He's still working on his Star Wars movie. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the speculated movie slate that could take place in Rogue Squadron. I don't know. I wish I could elaborate more, but I don't want to lose my job. I forgot. I wanted to share that with you guys, that there's still work being done on that project right now, which is really freaking cool. Zach, I'll tell you after the show.
Sweet. Ha
but I know a lot of people in the past have asked me about J.D. Dillard's movie. That's why I just wanted to share. Like, it could still happen, guys. Don't worry. The last thing I want to say about like where we could possibly go, I would really like to go back to Lothal and see a live action Lothal. Maybe Ezra goes back home or something after they find him. But I just love the look of Lothal. I mean, it's basically Tatooine 2.0, but it's just a little cooler.
Yeah.
And to see another Lothcat, I think we got it in, was it Rogue One or Solo? I can't remember. It was one of those. We saw a Lothcat, but Lothcats are so cute. And of course, finally, this show is expected to come in fall/winter of 2023. So it's not too far away. And we do know they're starting to shoot next year in, I think it was May of next year. So we'll start to get a lot more news, and hopefully, probably at Celebration next year, they're going to have a whole slew of announcements for this film, which I'm so excited about. But that's kind of the whole show we had planned today, as far as like main topics and stuff. If you guys have any last minute thoughts, put it in the chat, and we'll say hey to you and see what's going on. But Zach, any other things you wanted to kind of touch on for Star Wars world, related or unrelated?
I still have, lots of after Visions. I really love Visions. I don't know about you.
Yeah, tell me about. I know we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, that's true. I was just like, something you were mentioning a little bit ago about like, and I was thinking about Sabine and how sympathetic she was to the Empire at the beginning of her career, basically in her teenage years. It kind of reminded me of that in the Hop and Ocho episode, like how Ocho is, or Lop and Ocho, how Ocho is like, the Empire is good for, our planet and our community. And I don't want to, actually, I shouldn't be spoiling anything in case anybody hasn't watched Visions, but I would definitely recommend the Lop and Ocho. Some of them are very hit and miss for me, but like the Ninth Jedi, such a good episode.
Oh, that was great.
The first one, the name is escaping me, but we're getting a novel about that character.
The Ronin.
Yeah, Ronin. Ronin's the character. I can't think of.
The Duel?
It might be the Duel is the twins, I think, isn't it? No, the twins is the twins. Yeah, I think it might just be the Duel.
The book's out. Ronin is out.
Oh, Ronin is out. That's excellent. Yeah. That's how disconnected I am lately. I've got to read Ronin because I loved that character. And most of them were really solid, but the Ninth Jedi, I think, was amazing. Just sort of that, like, future dystopian lightsabers lost to time. Such a cool concept. Lop and Ocho was a surprise hit for me. And then the Elder was, I think, my favorite one. So cool. Like just the philosophical underpinning of power is an egoic thing that goes with time. And yeah, it was just really neat. Definitely would highly recommend Visions, but you had me thinking about Lop and Ocho, and I know those things aren't necessarily canon.
Yeah, I guess it's all on your preference. I guess it doesn't have to be, but it could be. I really loved Visions too, guys. I did a really short video on Visions, kind of a top 5 fun facts about the show, about the creators and things like that. You could check it out on the channel. But I really love Visions. The Ninth Jedi was my favorite, and another connection to my work, actually, the director of the Ninth Jedi he just directed the anime version of Blade Runner that just got released on Amazon. So you guys should check that out too. But yeah, I see some people agreeing Visions is epic, definitely. And of course, just a random comment, Jar Jar is the true Dark Lord of the Sith.
Darth Binks, baby.
Darth Binks. Lisa gonna kill ya. Guys, Star Wars is awesome. Zach Valadon is awesome. I don't think you mentioned the name of your podcast. If you want to share that for everybody.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a fairly irregularly updated thing for me, as my professional life can sometimes be very consuming, and I'm working on my master's degree right now. But I am posting a new episode this week. You can find me on The Pen, the Sword. I have a great episode with Han earlier in the year. Or I guess maybe it was 2020. It was born out of just needing to make connection with people during the pandemic. And I've continued it on, and I just connect with creative people and try to get a sense of how they do what they do and why, what the process is, and try to, learn a little bit more for myself about how I can improve my creativity and my lifestyle. So very cool. I've had like marketing directors on, musicians, writers, yogis, just
small business owners,
sort of running the gamut across like high performance creatives that seem to do what they do way better than I do.
Yeah, you guys should go check it out. The Pen the Sword podcast. Anywhere you want to listen to podcasts, I highly recommend it. Very good conversations with creative people and inspiring in a lot of ways. But where can people find you online, Zach?
Yeah, you can catch me on the gram at Zach Valadon, on the Twitter at Vacary Zaladon. I'm on Facebook. You can find my music under Pretty Well on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, wherever you like to have your music distilled to you by corporations. I'm there.
Me and Zach actually used to play music together, everybody, back when he was still in LA.
We did,
So
yeah.
I do recommend checking out his stuff too, for Pretty Well. Great stuff, great tunes there.
Bless you.
Well, dude, thanks for being here. We'll have you back because people obviously love seeing you here, and we'll plan some more episodes in the future.
I'm grateful. Let's do that Last Jedi thing. I would love that.
Hell yes. I think if
Yeah.
I remember when we did The Rise of Skywalker, it was me, you, and Dean. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I think that's true. We did with Dean, and then we might have also, or maybe that was the 100th episode.
I'll have to look back and see, but maybe we can get the same crew together.
That would be cool.
and
Or
talk about that.
Yeah, you could get a Last Jedi hater, since I love the Last Jedi, and we can.
Well, that would be me. So we're even.
That's right.
Maybe not hater. I just don't like the movie. But
I thought
we
you
could
said it
get,
grew
like-
on you a little bit in hindsight,
Oh,
given
no, that was not me.
Oh, okay. That must have been somebody else.
I will. If we do The Last Jedi look back, if we get other people to join us, we should have 2 and 2. 2 people that really love it, 2 people that really don't love it,
Yeah.
and have a little better conversation about it. But I think we should do it. I'm totally down for that.
Totally.
Well, thanks again, man. Guys, go check out Zach on social media. I tag him on Twitter and Instagram, so if you want to find him that way, just go to my stories or whatever you see him there. But thanks, buddy. We will see you again soon. And for the rest of you, everyone who joined us live today, MJ, Sith Care Bear, Max, of course, Robin McFly, Amidala, anyone else whose name I missed, thank you guys so much for joining us live. And if you're listening on the audio platform, thanks for listening. Again, subscribe, rate, and review. It helps out so damn much, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you want to go the extra mile and support our show, you can go to the link in the description, streamelements.com/HanTalksFirst/tip, where you could tip me and buy me some coffee, help get this show running, keep us on the air. You can also submit questions or whatever, and we'll use them as main topics on the show or standalone videos. But yeah, what do you guys think about all the news today? The big one being Sabine Wren is cast. Natasha Liu Bordizzo is going to be Sabine Wren in live action. Bunch of great stuff. Can't thank you guys enough again for being here. We will be back next Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific. You can join us. You can engage with us live, or you can just kick back and wait for it to release on the audio platforms. So again, guys, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again. But until then, somehow, some way, somewhere this week, may the Force be with you.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.